Group, securities offered through Money Block, and a proud contributor here at MarketStream.live. Well, the Q3 GDP numbers just came across the wire. I'm taking a look at those right now. They actually came in at around 2.9%, which was above consensus estimates, right around 2.5%. This is basically, as I look at these numbers, this is basically securing the fact that we're going to have a very high probability, again, I'm taking a look at this, that the Fed is going to be raising rates in the December meeting. So we're going to keep an eye on that. We're also going to keep an eye on the fixed income markets. But let's take a look at the international markets, and we want to kick it off with Asia. Asia finished the week on a mixed note. Taking a look at the Japanese Nikkei, it added around 0.6% overnight. It had bucked the trend to yesterday's weakening in the yen, and it was a nice response because you saw that the yen was starting to trade very weak in this session yesterday during the U.S. market hours in the currency markets, and it looked like that could put some pressure on the Japanese markets, but it bounced back. You actually saw that it got as low as 105.20 yen against a dollar. So we're going to watch the currency markets today now that we see that the GDP number came in really strong. So taking a look at the overnight action, financials, energies, and technologies basically were the leaders in Japan, 1.4%, 1.2%, and 1% respectively, while consumer staples, they're starting to take it on the chin, down about 7-10%, and we saw utilities unchanged, so we're not seeing a flight for any kind of yield there in Japan. As a matter of fact, looking at the EWJ, yesterday, quiet action there. Options markets pricing in a plus or minus 8-cent move going into the end of this week. Stocks trading at around 12.60, so basically just less than a 0.6% move being priced in today for the ETF that trades here in the United States. Taking a look at Hong Kong and the Hang Seng, lost about 0.8%, ended the week lower by about 1.8%. Property names and financials continue to struggle in Hong Kong. We saw that China Resources, Land, New World Development, and SKH Properties all fell between 0.8% and 1.7%. We're also seeing that Bank of China and Bank Hong Kong also lost between 0.9% and 1.9%. Taking a look at the EWH, which is the ETF that tracks Hong Kong, the shares in Hong Kong, and it is pricing in going into November expiration for the options on that ETF here in the States of around a plus or minus 82-cent range. That's roughly around a 3.7% move being priced in through November expiration, which is that third week, which is right around 21.75. Taking a look at the Chinese Shanghai composite, shed about 0.3%, but for the week was positive, added about 0.4%. Taking a look at that. Now, the yuan ticked to a fresh low overnight against the dollar. Got as low as 6.7865 yuan to a dollar. It did have a modest bounce, so that really was somewhat of a catalyst for the market. Lingha Company, we had Tenda Construction Group, and also I'm seeing China Security and Fire all lost between 4.1% and 5%. Now, if you take a look at the ETF Asher, ASHR, that has the top 300 securities in the Shanghai Composite. They're pricing in a plus or minus 17-cent move for today, and also going into next week. Through the week, they're pricing in a weekly move of around 52 cents, which is roughly around a 2.1% move being priced in either up or down in Asher, which is a 24.67. We'll see how that opens and trades today here in the States. Finally, looking at India, the Sensex added about 0.1%. It extended its weekly gain to about 1%. Decent move there. Tata Group companies rebounded from yesterday's weakness with Tata Motors as well as Tata Steel, all climbing about 2.7% and 1.9% respectively. What's notable about Tata group is that it makes up about 4.28% of the ETF that I mentioned yesterday, EPI, which is the ETF that tracks the top stocks in India. And so with Tata up overnight, we'll see if EPI can firm up and actually move to the upside today. Keep an eye on that. Right now, they're pricing in a move around let's say around 30 cents for today and 57 cents for next week. That's about a 2.6% move that the options marketplace in this ETF, EPI, is pricing in for into the end of next week. And this is a $21.50 stock. So we'll see if it actually looks like it's going to open higher. I'm taking a look at it right now. It does look like it's going to be opening higher. So we'll keep an eye on that today in the markets. Taking a look at Europe. Europe's open right now, trading briskly. The DAX, Germany's DAX right now is down by about 0.2%. There seems to be some exporters that are pressuring the index right now, and also some automotive names. Most notably, we have Daimler, Chrysler, Volkswagen, and BMW all down between 0.3% and 0.7%. We also have financials, Commerzbank and Deutsche Bank being the most notable, showing some decent losses right now in the session, down about 0.6% and about 0.1%. Now, EWG, the German ETF that will trade here in the United States during the day, they're pricing in today for around plus or minus 18-cent move in the ETF. And they're also pricing in at the end of the next week around a 49-cent move. So they're seeing in the next week maybe the stock underlying ETF for Germany moving about 1.9%, either up or down on this $25.80 stock. What's notable about the EWG and the ETF is Daimler Chrysler, which was down today, is about 6.7% of that ETF EWG. So we want to keep an eye on EWG as we watch the close there in Germany. Taking a look at the UK's FTSE, down about 0.2%. Consumer names continue to help the advance. Strong consumer there. Sainsbury, Next, Imperial Brands, names that we've talked about all week on the upside, as well as British American Tobacco. They're all up about 1% to about 2.6% respectively. Home builders also have been rebounding during this session, and that was after what we saw from yesterday's weakness, and we noted that in the overnight action report yesterday. Looking at Francis CAC, up about 0.3%. We're seeing some select consumer names that are also trading in the green, like Accor, Danone, and Louis Vuitton, all up between 0.1% and 0.7%. Taking a look at the EWQ, those are the iShares that actually track the stocks that trade in France, the actual stocks. Trading right around 23.90 at the close yesterday. Right now, the November options are pricing in a 1-month move of plus or minus 96 cents, which is roughly around a 4% move in this ETF. Also, what's notable is that we saw that financials, Société Générale and Crédit Agricole, as well as BNP Paribas, were also down about 0.2% to 1.5%. Let's see if that weighs on EWQ during the day today. But pricing in right now, the options are pricing in that ETF around a 4% move going into November expiration, either plus or minus 4%. Finally, we're going to take a look at Italy. Italy's MIP was down about 0.5%. Energy names really struggling right now and on the defensive. Down nearly, the group is down nearly about 2.3%. Financials, though, they continue to struggle, but not as poorly as they have, but they are down. We're seeing some names down. Banco Popular being the most notable one, down about 1.3%. Keep an eye on EWI. That's the ETF that tracks the Italian stocks. And right now they're looking at a 1-month move around 54 cents, which on this $11.34 ETF is roughly around a 4.7% move. All right, folks, one last thing that I want you to take a look at over the weekend and keep on your radar screen. Watch the sovereign debt markets and also watch the yields in the European countries. like France, Germany, Greece, Italy, we're seeing that their 10-year bonds across the board are on the move to the upside. Some of the most notable ones right now, believe it or not, Greece. We see Germany's Bund is up. We also see that France, Italy, Portugal, Spain, all of their 10-year notes, 10-year bonds are all up to the upside. Has been the story all week. It looks like the central governors and central bankers, across the globe are going to reassess their interest rate policies. There is some concern that we could start seeing inflation rear its head a lot more quickly than anticipated. They may be reevaluating that their interest rate policies. So it should be very interesting going into the bond trade globally next week. All right, folks, thank you so much for being on this week. It's been an exciting launch week. We look forward to bringing you a ton more material on MarketStream Live. And also, stay tuned. We're going to have the opening bell coming up in about 40 minutes. So please join us. Take care and have a great trading day.